Alive on the Moon, Jaro. It's on the pen alive with your host David Knapp.
Thank you, Claptrack, and happy, maybe the happiest Thursday night. Welcome to On the Pen Live. I am your host, Dave Knapp, ManOnMounjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Compound, Single Dose Vials, that pen. That's what we talk about here, and we have got a banger for you tonight. Maybe one of the most exciting shows that we have ever done on the pen. I am so excited, so very excited to be here with you all tonight. This was a huge day. If you caught my video from earlier today, I'm going to give you a rundown, and I can't wait to tell you about how yesterday unfolded, and then how today unfolded. And it was just absolutely amazing. The really exciting thing is that, you know, we have created really a movement of content creators who are now covering this kind of news. When I started doing this 2 years ago, nobody cared about an Eli Lilly earnings call, but I knew that there was information in these earnings calls that we could extrapolate as patients, that meant something to us as patients. And so I started covering them. And now almost everybody here on YouTube who covers anything about Mounjaro or GLP-1 medications now covers earnings calls. So that is super cool. Obviously, today was the culmination of a lot of work. And so we have a special show tonight. Tonight we will just be talking about really what led up to today, how it happened. And I'm so excited to share with you, sort of how this all came together. I came home today and I had, a matter of fact, I should go grab them. I'm going to go grab them for you. Talk amongst yourselves. So this came in the mail. Sorry. This came in the mail today. Fortune magazine. Fortune magazine. Just an incredible moment for me personally. The article that you may have seen shared around the socials over the last couple days in print. I mean, there's still something that is so astounding about seeing your name in print, even though we're like years away from that being like super relevant. But to see your name in print is just crazy. It's crazy. And so Fortune magazine came out. Make sure you catch this article. I'm very proud of this. And so in this article, it highlighted our movement to hashtag release the vials. Drop hashtag release the vials in the chat. And I just want to lay out the story to sort of what kind of happened here, how this all culminated, and how it ended with me this morning on the phone with the CEO of an $800 billion company. Me. I mean, this is just crazy. And so, I'll go back to the fall, or the fall, late summer of last year. We were dealing with shortages all last year on Mounjaro. If you're an OG and you've been around the block, I see some OG names in the chat. I see Ben Davis, obviously Donna, Sue the Dude. I really think that none of us saw this coming, but what we did experience early on was shortages of Mounjaro. And so we knew that once this was released for obesity, that we're going to play the same shortage games. And so in the late summer of last year, early fall, we saw that Eli Lilly got Mounjaro single dose vials approved by the FDA. And I watched that very closely and just sort of saw how that all unfolded. And they told us on earnings calls, because again, nobody follows the earnings calls like On the Pen. I promise you that I can tell you. We follow these things super, super closely. And we learned very quickly that the single dose vials of Mounjaro were not for the United States markets. And I remember scratching my head going, well, they can make those so much easier. I come from manufacturing. And so it's just, I mean, common sense if you're in manufacturing, that you eliminate, pain points in the production process, then things become more efficient. And so essentially what you saw, hey, if you're new here, drop an N in the chat next to your name. Let me know that you're new here. I'd love to welcome you by name. I know we've got a lot of people in the house tonight. Sue the Dude, looks like you gifted like 20 memberships. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So when Zepbound was released for the obesity indication, what we saw was almost immediate shortages. Max, Thelma, Monago, Sasha, Darlene, thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Julie, Donna, thank you for being here. And of course, my OGs that are here. Thank you for being here. This is a special live. By the way, we're celebrating tonight. We're going to crack this baby together. This OTP champagne. We are. And also, biggest super chat of the night gets to choose where I inject this bad girl. So it's going to be an all sorts of a great night. Thank you, Creamy. I appreciate it. Andrea, welcome. Thank you for being here. So when the shortages for Zepbound started to hit, I knew that Eli Lilly had the single dose vials approved for Mounjaro. So we started a campaign on TikTok. I started a campaign on TikTok called Release the Vials, and just sort of asking Eli Lilly, what's the deal? Why don't we release the single dose vials for Mounjaro? And within about a week of that, following the FDA website, I saw that single dose vials were approved by the FDA for Zepbound. And to me, I go, okay, now Zepbound's approved for single dose vial presentations. There's no reason. Sabrina with a 1999 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. I'm very grateful for that. So why not? Why not release the Zepbound vials and the Mounjaro vials? Release the vials. And this took off in a very big way. I want to give a special shout out. If you're on YouTube and you use the hashtag release the vials, put a hand raise emoji in the chat. I would love to thank you for being part of it. But as I kind of went through and I was thinking about my people on TikTok that really, really helped to push this campaign on TikTok, I want to give a special shout out, of course, to Sabrina, who is always such a supporter of all my work on all of the platforms. Really, really appreciate that, Sabrina. But I do want to give a special shout out to some TikTok people, because TikTok is really where this went viral and got attention. Jack LeMay, Jay, something about Stevie, Robbie, Carrie Lee, Kim Crockett, Armando, Mike on a Mission, Bill McKim. Those were just some that just repeatedly were using that hashtag, talking about it in live streams, sort of really taking it on, as a serious campaign, and really buying into the idea that we could together make something happen. Rudy, J May, Allie, Cherry Pie, Turtle, Hillary, Sabrina, Thidey, Cameron, Scoop, J Neb, all of you. I know Corey, you probably did as well. Julie, there's so many of you that helped push this campaign, and ultimately because of the work that you did, because you bought into what we could do together. Oh, Donna, thank you. $49.99 super chat from Donna. Thank you so much, Donna. I so greatly appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Because of what you did, and Donna, of course, Donna used the hashtag all the time over here on TikTok and YouTube. Because you believed, it caught the eye of Madison Muller. And Madison Muller is a health reporter with Bloomberg. And she saw what we were doing here, and she saw value in what we were doing here, and she wanted to highlight it. And so Bloomberg picked it up. And then, of course, many other media outlets picked it up as well. And we just really got this thing some real big attention. And the earnings call for quarter one came about last year, and really we didn't hear a whole lot. We didn't hear a whole lot that gave us a lot of hope. As a matter of fact, single dose vials were not even mentioned one time on that earnings call. They talked about they talked about the quick pen. Candace with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Candace. I appreciate that. Make sure you give her a follow. But I was left after that one feeling like compounds are our only hope, because I've always been a huge advocate for accessibility, for people to have accessibility through the branded medications. Like, I've always felt like that's ideal. Joe, hey, Joe Crypto with a $50 super chat. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. Brian, another person who used the hashtag. Thank you, Brian. Joe, thank you for the $50 super chat. It's good to see you. Some of the OGs in the house tonight, and I love it. They're in here because they know what a big deal this is to the community. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you. It's good to see you and good to hear from you. So we get this attention. The earnings call comes and goes, and I feel like compound's the only hope. And being an advocate for branded medication access, I just didn't know what to turn. I thought compounds are our only hope, because there's just no way Eli Lilly can keep up with this. And then a couple of additional media outlets picked this up along the way, released the vials. I got to actually do a article in Health Magazine, and then it all culminated last week with this Fortune Magazine article, which was a fantastic article. If you did not see it, make sure you pick up the Fortune Magazine for August and September. You can catch it on their website as well. But the most interesting thing about this article to me is it was about Dave Ricks. About 90% of it was about Dave Ricks, the CEO of Eli Lilly. And then the 10% of the article at the end was about us. It was about what we're doing here. It was about the community that we built. And Dave gave us a great shout out in the Fortune magazine, said he appreciated communities that were unprecedented. This is something like this has never existed before, but it does now. And we're informed, and we have the power together to work together to move mountains. And so he acknowledged that. Well, yesterday I get an email yesterday afternoon, and I get an email from the office of the CEO of Eli Lilly. And my first take on this was this can't be real. This can't be real. But of course I follow up. I do my due diligence, and it is 100% real. And we get a call scheduled for this morning at 9 o'clock Eastern. And I'm like, 9 o'clock Eastern is 1 hour before their earnings call. And I thought, this has to be it. This has to be it. They have to be releasing the vials. I thought it was spam or a phishing attempt. Like I thought somebody was going to try to punk me for their own YouTube channel or something. And then my phone rang today at 9:02 Central Time. And it was Dave Ricks from Eli Lilly. He said, hey, this is Dave Ricks from Eli Lilly, and I want to give you just some information about the vials. And so I want to share with you what he said, just from the Eli Lilly perspective. They've been watching what we're doing here at OnThePen. They appreciate what we're doing here at OnThePen. They appreciate patient advocacy. But the releasing of the vials was something that was prolonged, basically due to logistical issues, right? Working with suppliers, third-party vendors to help get this up and going. They obviously saw the need for this early on, went through the FDA process, got it approved in March, which is the time, literally that day is when I saw it and started making content about it. And just due to the logistical nature of the challenge that it is to get that up and running, they haven't been able to announce it until now. Lori, thank you for becoming a member. It's good to have you as part of our OnThePen show here. Yes. So if you'd like to become a member, it's an easy way to support the channel, but hit that like, hit that bell, hit that sub. Also, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Yeah, definitely. But becoming a member is an easy way to support the work that we do here at OnThePen. And so the conversation was really good. I won't share everything that we talked about. I had some questions for him. He gladly answered them. I had an idea that he was willing to entertain and listen to. So maybe more to come on that. We'll see. But I'll keep that a little closer to the vest for now. But I just really appreciate the fact that Eli Lilly acknowledges what we're doing here at OnThePen and appreciates what we're doing as a community to advocate for ourselves. And so, yeah, that was it. Hey, we're releasing the vials. We're releasing the 2.5 milligram and the 5 milligram of Zepbound. I asked Mr. Ricks, why not Mounjaro also? And he said, essentially, they can only do so much of the vials, right? And they chose the starter doses of Zepbound because that will ultimately free up the pens for the upper doses. So you see, to kind of bring this back to the Novo Nordisk angle, like they're throttling the 0.25 by just not letting people get it. And Eli Lilly is actually just taking those starter doses instead of not letting people get it. They are making those first 2 doses in vials so that more people can get on the program. They said that there are actually up to 160,000 people a week starting Zepbound. Mimi with a $5 super chat. She says, congratulations on your hard work, Dave, and the GLP-1 community. Thank you for being here and being such a great part of this community, Mimi. It's so good to have you here. Thank you. So that was, the bulk of the discussion. It was an 18-minute conversation. It was crazy. It was just a crazy, surreal moment. And I'm so thankful to each and every one of you. We did it. We did it in the chat. And we're going to get to the implications of release the vials, because I think there's a lot of questions, because, all the news leading up to today was about the future of compounds with all the doses of Mounjaro and Zepbound coming back in stock. What does this mean for 503B pharmacies and the FDA shortage list? And we're going to get into all of that. And I can't wait to. We're going to unpack as much as we can. We're going to take questions tonight. And so I really, really think that you're welcome, Brian. That's you, buddy. You make great content. I really, we're gonna answer questions. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into just all the things. And so I've got a list of notes here. We could cover. I want to go through the Eli Lilly earnings call notes that I have. Kind of some of the main points that I think are interesting, and then we'll get into like how this affects everything else. Corey with a $99.99 super chat. My goodness, we're all beyond proud of you and thankful for you, Dave. We did it. Release the vials. Thank you so much. Our RPDP89. Thank you so much, Corey, with a $10 super chat. Thank you. They're coming in too fast to keep up with, but thank you. Thank you for your generosity to me and my family. Y'all know how much time I put into this, and so I so greatly appreciate it. It's never expected, but it's always appreciated when y'all see fit to give back to the work that I do in that way. Thank you so much. So I'm going to get into the earnings call. We did it. I love it, Julie. We did it. I'm going to get into the earnings call recap. But before we do, one of the biggest topics that we have to talk about on this channel is availability. Like we're fighting for accessibility. And the reason is because we know that sick people deserve medicine. To borrow a quote from my friend Kim over at the Plus Sides, sick people need medicine. And accessibility is a huge part of that. And so that's one of the big reasons that I decided to partner with Ro. Ro is a amazing telemedicine company. They're a juggernaut. Round Mound with a $19.99 super chat. Thank you, buddy. Scoop with a $10 super sticker. Geez, y'all are just lavishing me with gifts tonight. I can't even keep up with it. But Ro, an amazing telehealth company who has agreed. Well, so first of all, you may not know this, but I'm working with Ro as an advisor now, a community advisor. So sort of a spokesperson on behalf of all of us into one of the largest telemedicine companies in the world. And so I'm so thankful for that position that they have bestowed upon me. Such an honor, but they're also helping to support the podcast and the show. And so one of the big reasons that I knew they were the right company to work with is they were out there developing tools that help the community, right? And that was the big GLP-1 supply tracker tool. Do a Google search for GLP supply tracker, because as we move forward, reporting our shortages and telling our side of the story when we can't get the medicine is going to be imperative to what we're going to talk about later on. Because if we don't hashtag report the shortage, then all they're getting is the big pharmaceutical companies side of the story. They're not getting our side of the story. So hashtag report the shortage is the hashtag that we're using. And of course, the row tracker tool, when you go in there, you put whether you find your medication or whether you couldn't find it. And when you can't find your medicine, it's going to generate an automatic report to the FDA. So that's an easy way to then get alerted when medicine gets back into your area. And it's going to send that report. They're going to send a report to the FDA based upon people's responses. Christy with a $20 super sticker. Thank you so much for your generosity tonight, my friends. So Row, they have a program called Row Body, right? And it's going to be, they're going to connect you with a telemedicine provider. That provider is going to work with you to find out if you need medication for whatever you're dealing with to help you, and combine that some certain medications that are offered with lifestyle interventions and modifications, a healthy lifestyle. And some patients were able to lose 10 to 15% of their body weight. Of course, with any medication, there's going to be side effects that you're going to want to make sure you know about. Of course, we're not talking about anything specific, but everything can be found at row.co/OTP. And then all the safety information that you're going to need is going to be there too. So I highly recommend you go give Row some love, row.co/OTP, because they are helping to bring this to you every week now. Thank you to Row. Thank you to their team. They're just an awesome, awesome group of people. Like, when you get into quote unquote business with people, you just hope that you're getting in business with good people. And I got to tell you, the people at Row are absolutely, absolutely first-rate individuals and really care about this community. So thank you, Row, for partnering with OnThePen. Jessica with a $9.99 super chat. She said, thank you for all you do. What an amazing day. Release the vials, report the shortage. Thank you, my friend. Absolutely. So we're going to get into the earnings call, and then I'm going to get into the compound side of things and what I'm seeing here. I'm going to try to gloss over because I'm not sure how much anybody cares about anything but release the vials, but there was some good stuff in here. The Q2 highlights, they have 11 new molecules in development right now for obesity and diabetes. Orforglipron obviously entered phase 3 for diabetes and obesity. And then we're going to get top line data middle of next year for orforglipron, which is amazing. I can't wait to see because the oral versions of these medications are going to be absolutely game changers. Sue the Dude's been a member for 18 months, said, hope all your anxiousness about losing compound will get some answers tonight. You are important. Yes, our friends on compounds, we will not leave you out. This is the Big Brother chat. Yes, welcome. Welcome, Join Fridays. So yeah, good to have you all here. Retatrutide is in studies for obesity, obstructive sleep apnea, osteoarthritis, cardiovascular, renal failure, and type 2 diabetes outcomes. And the readouts for that start in 2026. We're talking a lot about Medicare, Medicaid. That's why these companies are very smartly not relying on TROA, because TROA isn't going to do a lot for us as it's currently written. And so it's very important that they're going after these new sort of indications that are outside of obesity and diabetes. So they're doing that obviously with retatrutide. Donna says, Dave is the goat of all the penners. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And RPDP 89 became a member. Thank you for becoming a member. Mounjaro and Zepbound are driving revenue. Obviously, they had a 46% revenue growth this past year. I mean, gosh, there's so much. I'm not even going to bore you with it. You can check it out on OnThePen.com. I have notes. If you care about how much money they made, we all know how much money they made, a crap ton. Suffice it to say, right? R&D, obviously, we've talked about tirzepatide, reduced the risk of worsening heart failure by 38%. Tirzepatide improved symptoms and mobility by 24.8% and 15% with placebo. So a pretty consistent, like 9% better on tirzepatide. Obviously, lifestyle interventions part of that as well. Tirzepatide saw a 15% weight reduction also. Detailed results came out at our detailed results for this trial are going to go to the FDA starting later this year. And so hopefully we'll see that heart failure indication sometime early next year. Cardiometabolic health is kind of what they're calling their diabetes and obesity wing of their company now. Just thought that was kind of interesting. Cardiometabolic health. Tirzepatide obstructive sleep apnea results presented at ADA. All their primary endpoints for that were met. So again, another backdoor way for people to get access to this medication on Medicare. Hopefully, again, by the turn of the year is about when they expect that to go down. The interesting thing about the tirzepatide obstructive sleep apnea study is that they received breakthrough therapy designation by the FDA, because this is actually the first medicine that has been shown in I think it was, I can't remember, 51%. 51%. So just over half of the people that took tirzepatide for sleep apnea had their sleep apnea completely resolved. And so the FDA granted breakthrough therapy. So you may see this on Medicare. And, obviously that's a huge deal, right? MASH, stage 2 or 3, people with stage 2 or 3 fibrosis taking tirzepatide, half of the patients showed improvements by reducing their fibrosis by one level. And so just very interesting. They're doing some interesting things. We learned about a new drug, a GLP-1 NPA2 that is entering phase 1. It's a small molecule non-peptide pill. So think orforglipron. So this is a new dual agonist that is entering phase 1 clinical trials, or was in phase 1. Now it's going to enter phase 2 trials later this year. So that we got a name to that one, or not a name, but we heard kind of what that medication is. There's a GLP-1 coagonist 3, next gen dual agonist, weekly and monthly dosing exploration are being looked at with this medication. And so they're looking at extending the half-life of the medication. So that is super interesting. And then they scrapped an NRG4 agonist due to lack of efficacy. Now, this is where I think it gets interesting. And there's other stuff here in my notes, but we're going to get right to the nitty gritty, to the compounds, right? Because they literally took this particular part of the argument head on, right? So the question was about, obviously, some of the articles that are floating around about patients that are on compound medications that are not doing so well, right? So obviously we're going to always tell the most scary side of the story that we can to hype people up. And so the question was basically, what is Lilly's concern with these GLP-1s? Are they concerned about them affecting their bottom line? And don't these infringe upon patents? And how do they expect these to get adjudicated in the courts? So interestingly, this was the response, right? And so this is Dave Ricks responding. He said, Lilly has been watching carefully, not because of an impact to the bottom line, but because of patient health. And this would actually reiterate something that Mr. Rick said to me on the call. Hey, we hit 100 likes. I don't think we've ever hit 100 likes on a live before. That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you all. Lilly's been basically taking different compounds that they buy on the open market, gray market. Of course, we're not getting any distinction, so we don't know if they're buying something off some goofy Chinese website or actual compounds. And of course, they're never going to distinguish that because they want to lump them all together, right? And we know better. But they've been analyzing. They're finding that many are entirely different chemicals altogether, or there are versions that are full of impurities, including bacteria. Lilly will be active, taking public positions, working with regulators, and considering legislation. Lilly acknowledges 503A as being legal, though what Dave Ricks posits in his comments is that he doesn't know what would precipitate the need. Again, 503A is going to be taking tirzepatide and mixing it with something else, or just giving a non-brand name version because somebody has an intolerance to the brand name version. And he sort of throws a flag on the field and says, we don't even see why that would be necessary. I bet you got some ideas in the chat. But he contests the validity of the mass production of 503B pharmacies. And this is where we're going to get into it, because I definitely take umbrage with that, because it's the law. That's what 503B pharmacies were created for. But he does bring up a good point from the Eli Lilly side, because he acknowledges there was acknowledgement that the shortages lead to this and that they need to do something about that. But he contends that the shortages are largely held up because the enforcement required to build the factories and the capacity to make these are so stringent from a sterility standpoint that it doesn't make sense that the answer to that is to then go allow facilities that don't have to jump through the same exact hoops that they do to be able to make their medication. And so you can sort of see their point of view there, right? So I think what they're telegraphing here is that they're going to fight it. They're going to fight it. But I also think what we heard in other comments were that I'm not sure that they think that the FDA is really, because they were asked pretty directly, do they agree with the FDA's assessment so far that they haven't pulled it off the master shortage list? And I think that Lilly anticipates, even with the release of the vials, which we'll get into when that may be. I don't think that Lilly thinks that they're going to be just completely out of the woods when it comes to shortages. They can't possibly think that. They can't possibly have gone from shortages won't be resolved until 2026 on the last earnings call to 3 months from then, saying there's no more shortages. Not a thing. Don't worry about it. We got it. I don't think that single dose vials in 2 doses of Zepbound are going to make that much of a difference with 160,000 new patients a week, or 400,000 to 600,000 additional pens that need to be manufactured per week, right? Ultimately, I think that that's unsustainable, even with 2 doses in single dose vials. But there are forecasters within that company that know a lot more than we do and have a lot more visibility into this stuff than we do. But my sense is that I think shortages will continue to be somewhat of an issue. And I think really what this hinges upon is whether they report accurately, which is, again, another reason why we need to be reporting when we don't find it at our pharmacy. Lilly reports when there's a shortage, when the distributors can't get what they're ordering from Lilly, then Lilly is required to self-report to the FDA that they can't fulfill requests from the distributor, right? So we don't feel the shortage until it's down at the pharmacy level, right? But even this week, my own personal pharmacy couldn't tell me when they were going to get 15 milligram dose of Mounjaro in. Like, to me, that's a distributor thing. That's not a pharmacy thing. So that's why hashtag report the shortage is important. We need to tell our own story as well, right? So that was really, really interesting. Of course, they touched on the shortages a little bit more, and saying that basically the vials sort of add to the picture of being able to. They said that they would be able to produce 1.5 times the amount of medication in the second half than the first half of the year. And they said that that's largely not because of the vials, right? So I'm wondering if this within weeks actually means maybe closer to the end of the year. It's within seconds, right? Just millions of them. So we'll see what kind of how that trues up, and if it truly is within weeks. When they say weeks, I think by the fall. That's where my mind goes. Like, we're in August, I think October, November, but it could be all the way to December. So we'll have to see kind of how that shakes out. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. Obviously, the release the vials campaign is really, really, really big. When we're talking about this specific earnings call, because this is what we've been fighting for. Hey, good to have you here, Michelle. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member and one of the best parts of OnThePen. Really appreciate you, my friend. Mrs. Bell, I see you. Good to have you here. So I want to get into my notes here specifically so that we can talk about the compound version. How are we all doing tonight? Y'all doing good in the chat? Should we pop some bubbly? I mean, this release the vials thing was a big deal. We did this together. And I think that sometimes the community has to just celebrate a little bit, right? I mean, this was a huge deal, an absolutely huge deal that that we fought for this. And this is basically what we're doing here is we have caused a movement that has allowed more medication to hit the market ultimately, right? And expanded accessibility to brand name medications is something that is important. And because everybody deserves access to safe and effective medications, branded medications are ideal. Obviously, my phone has been dictating this for some time. Branded medications obviously are ideal. That's what we are rooting for. And so this is a big deal. But I'm going to get into it, but we're going to pop a bottle together because this was us, and this community deserves a win, and this community deserves something to celebrate, right? We deserve something to celebrate because we did this together. We saw some amazing things. Smitty, you're going to be waiting a long time, sweetheart. He's waiting for prices to come down. We did it. Woo! Woo! That's yummy. All right. So we are going to I haven't checked the master list, little chi. I'll have to check that after we're done here. So there's a ton of work to do. We're going to get in. This is not the be all end all, but when we get a win, we celebrate a win. And tonight, this was a win. Oh, Lisa, get out of here with your piddly paddly. This was a win. Like, more medicine on the market so that more people can get it is a win. And if you don't think that's a win and you want to ho-hum on our party, go on. Seriously. We can celebrate this because we as a community have been advocating for this. We've been advocating for this. More medicine. It is a win. It's absolutely a win. There is more work to be done, and we'll do that. But when we band together and we work hard together to push something, we are going to celebrate that win because we earned it. So we're going to get into the notes tonight. We are going to get into the notes tonight because people are worried. They're worried about compound accessibility. They're worried about that. And I got some things to say about it. Let's see here. I think it dictated what I was saying somehow over the notes that I made. So let me see how many times I'm going to hit the undo button. Okay, here we go. We're here. Just 2 doses of Zepbound. That's right. The 2.5 and the 5. The PBMs are the real problem, Sue, and we are going after them. We've done a ton. We've done a ton to talk about that. Avi, you can always tell when people haven't been around for that long because we have people come in here and you need to do this, you need to do that. My friend, we've been doing it for 2 years now almost. There's very little that we haven't talked about on this channel. So okay, the big question that people have right now is when will we see these vials come on the market and actually help? So when my answer to that is pretty simple. We've been told within weeks. That was the language that they used. That was the language that Mr. Ricks used with me on the phone. That was the language they used in the earnings call and in their Mimi's raising her can of Diet Coke with me. Yes. Cheers to you, the community. Cheers. All right. The within weeks thing, I'm a bit skeptical of because basically later on in the earnings call, hey, Ray, how are you? Later on in the earnings call, one of the things that we heard was that they didn't anticipate, they weren't baking in with the 1.5 times increase in sellable doses. They weren't figuring in the vials. To me, that says that the vials probably won't be on the market here quick enough to make a difference in that number. So I say late 2024, early 2025. That's just what I'm extrapolating from what was said on the earnings call. Brian's raising his electrolyte water because he's on a GLP-1. So that's when. The second question that I have gotten the most today is how much? How much? So I don't think, and this is speculation, but I don't think the vials will be cheaper. We've already seen that the Ozempic pen costs $5, right? When you're talking about $1,000 medication, you're talking about a pretty insignificant amount of money. So it's not the pen that we're paying for anyway. It's the pens are there to protect patents because Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk would way rather defend a pen in court than they would a peptide. Peptides are harder to defend in court. Natalie's raising her pineapple hard cider. I love it. Let me know what you're raising in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. It would be cheaper for them, but it's not going to be cheaper for us. I mean, I think I would get that out of your mind and I just wouldn't expect it to be cheaper. I just wouldn't. Because it's the liquid gold inside that we're paying for. It is not the devices which cost, pennies to make. They're not that expensive. Matt says PBMs will dictate the price of the vials. Yes, they will. Compound implications. Okay. So I want to get into the question inevitably today, what does this mean for compound medication? Because I heard everything in my comments today from this is awesome, this is amazing, this is what we've been asking for. And obviously that's, typically people that have coverage, right? Because if you don't have coverage, you're going, well, what does this mean for my compound? Is my compound going away? Well, we've been following this very, very closely at OnThePen. We've been following, let me know in the chat and feel free to tell me no, but has anybody else been working harder to teach and educate about 503A versus 503B pharmacies? I've been talking about this, blogging about this. The 503A and 503B pharmacy difference in the nuances between the two are very, very important to understand when it comes to what the future of these compound medications are going to be. 503A pharmacies can fill individual scripts. They can add something to an existing medication and make a version of it for a patient. But there has to be a medical need to precipitate that. Now, when there's a shortage, an FDA shortage, 503B pharmacies and 503A pharmacies, pretty much with impunity, can manufacture these and put them out there provide them for people with pretty much impunity. It doesn't matter that there's patents on the medications. And if you're sitting in the comments tonight and you're going, you can't patent a peptide, you very much can patent a peptide. Tirzepatide is not naturally occurring in nature, and neither is semaglutide. These are peptide changes that were invented by these companies, and there very much are patents on them. Do they want to defend them in court? I don't think so. I don't think they want to defend them in court because I think they are hard to defend. But these are peptides that do hold patents. The 503B pharmacies, when the shortages are in play, can manufacture in scale, right? They can mass produce these medications. If Eli Lilly succeeds in getting the FDA to remove tirzepatide altogether from the master list, 503A pharmacies, from my research, I could be wrong, but from everything that I've researched, 503As will have about 60 days to fulfill existing orders, like fulfill orders that are on the books. But after that 60 days, the grace period goes away, and then they can no longer, with impunity, put out the medication. So from the time that it leaves the master shortage list, there's basically a 60-day clock. And the language is pretty vague, right? The language is like the FDA may give a grace period of 60 days. For 503A pharmacies, there's no such grace period at all. So 503As would have to go immediately back to fulfilling scripts only when there's a medical need that precipitates the medication to be compounded. And they have to prove, as Kamala says in the chat, that it is medically necessary. There has to be a medical reason. So it will probably be problematic for doctors to write a lot of prescriptions for compounded medications when they're off shortage, because it'll be 503A pharmacies, and it's not like everybody that comes in has the same issue, right? Everybody needs B12 with their tirzepatide. I don't think so. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough for 503As to keep up with that level of compounding. So basically, prior to, nothing really changed today in the compound world. Help me understand what changed. It is Lilly is going to be able to make more Zepbound. Are they going to be able to make so much more of it that they can deal with 160,000 new people on the script when already people have these troubles with supplies? I just don't think so. I don't think so. So to me, this is what it's all going to come down to. And it's regardless of the news that came out today, because this was as true yesterday as it is today. That is, if Lilly can convince the FDA that they're stocking the distributors appropriately, it's going to go off the FDA shortage list. Period. Full stop. And so what we're really relying on is the FDA to hold Eli Lilly accountable for that information being good and accurate information, right? So that's what we're relying on here. The other thing is that underscores and is why we have started the hashtag report the shortage campaign, and why it is important that you are reporting your shortages to the FDA when you have a prescription in hand for the branded medication and you go to your local pharmacy and they cannot get it for you. That is a trigger for you to go to the FDA website and fill out a report that you cannot find your medicine. We have to tell our story. Lily's going to tell their story. Novo's going to tell their story. We have to tell our story. And then it'll be the FDA's job to parse out what is true. And that is the bottom line of this whole compound debate. Now, does releasing vials mean there's going to be more branded medication on the market than there would be without them? 100% it does. That's a good thing. If you're saying less branded medication is a good thing, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with that at all. I think we need to work within the system that we're in here. And if they're in shortage and that process works, the compound should be able to continue. If that process is broken, I think we're going to find out pretty quick. Also, I think that you're going to see that some compound pharmacies have probably not been operating in ways that maybe they should have, or they will continue to operate despite what FDA shortages say. And then I think you're going to see litigation. Right. But I do not think that Eli Lilly wants to go to court and defend the patent on the peptide. I don't think that, because if they lose that, think of the implications for their future medications, because retatrutide is easily compoundable, right? The amylin agonist, aloralintide, will be easily compounded. Caglarintide on Novo Nordisk side, Cagrasema on Novo Nordisk side, semaglutide on all easily compounded peptides. It isn't until we get the oral small molecules that it's not going to be so easy for dupes to exist, right? So that is my take on compounds. So even if the master shortage list goes away, there's still a 60-day period. You're already seeing some of these telehealth companies do some pretty questionable things in my book. I saw some offering a 60 or a 90-day supply of compound. Is it even good for that long? Like, I don't know. I don't take compounds, but I'm like, that seems interesting. What if the patient needs to titrate up, or I don't know. Seems weird, but we'll see. So yeah, I think that's the story for compounds. I mean, it really is. And I don't see how today's news changes that. Will there be more branded medication? Yes. Is that a good thing? I believe so. So it really sort of begs the question about what next. And I will get to that, because there's a next level in this battle. There's a next fight to fight. And I want to make you all aware of what I think that is and how you can fight back, right? Because accessibility is something we're fighting for. More branded medication is an accessibility issue. It is a win. That's why we're popping bubbly tonight, because more branded medication is a win for patient accessibility. People not having to call 100 pharmacies in a day is a win for accessibility. People not having to drive 300 miles to a pharmacy is a win for accessibility. That's what we have asked Eli Lilly for, and that's what Eli Lilly has delivered today. So kudos to Eli Lilly. It's good news. It really is good news for patient accessibility, but it's not the end. We're not celebrating the end here. We're celebrating a small victory, but we're going to celebrate nonetheless. So thank you for being here. Put celebrate in the chat if you're with me. Let me see some excitement emojis in the chat if you're with me. So one of the questions that I've had today also is, what about the upper doses? Why not the upper doses? I think this one is rather obvious. I think just like Novo Nordisk is sort of controlling how many people get on the medication with calibrating the 0.25. I think that's why Lilly chose the starter doses of Zepbound. There's 160,000 people starting Zepbound a week. The market is much bigger for Zepbound, so I think that's why they chose those doses. Also, they don't want you getting 15 milligram doses and splitting them, because they're single dose vials, and there's a lot of funny business that can happen. That people are already doing funny business with the 15 milligram pens. So of course people would do that with the vials. So they're not going to do that. I just don't think it makes sense. That's not Lilly saying that. This is me sort of speculating as to just an additional reason why. but I don't think it's too hard to figure out. Thank you for those who are celebrating celebrating with me, I should say. I really, really appreciate that. This is a good day to celebrate for the community. This is a community win. I hope you're all toasting tonight. Let me know what you're toasting in the chat. How does this help the upper doses? So it's another thing that people have been saying, well, this is terrible for my upper doses. No, it's actually not, because now more pens are available for both Mounjaro and the upper doses of Zepbound. You get it? Like, when they don't have to make a bunch of 2.5. Listen, 2.5 is the dose that gets used by absolutely everybody who goes on the medicine. Like 99.9% of people who get on Zepbound will take the 2.5. Not everybody who gets on gets on Zepbound is going to take 12.5. Not everybody who gets on Zepbound is going to take 15. Everybody's going to take 2.5, and most will take 5. So alleviating the shortages in those, alleviating the pens in those doses saves those pens for the upper doses. Make you sensey? Somebody said they don't agree. I'd love to hear why not. So one of the things is, like, these compounds currently are not cutting into Eli Lilly's bottom line. They're not. Could they in the future? Is it a move against them potentially hitting their bottom line? Of course it is. But they're selling and will sell every dose they can make, probably here until Retatrutide comes out. I don't see a world where they will be have a surplus of medication in the next 3 years. I just don't. Do you? I don't see a world where they'll have excess medication. So in other words, they're selling every dose that they can make. For them, it's more of a brand reputation thing. They don't want people getting on these medication and hearing about people getting sick. And actually, it's a compound that they're on, and they're sick because the compound was overdosed or whatever. It's a brand reputation thing for Eli Lilly more than it is anything right now. But I also think it's something that they do want to sort of, get their hands around before it gets to the point where it is too big, right? And so I just don't see a world where compounds are actually a threat to their bottom line. They're a threat to the integrity of their brand, because, as you know, bad news can get out about this stuff, and then it gets mixed in, with Mounjaro or Zepbound, the brand name medication, when really it was compounded versions, which are much harder to sort of track the VAERS stuff on and everything like that. So that's what I see. Currently, I don't see I don't see how the compound conversation has changed from today to yesterday. I really don't see, other than there will be more branded medication on the market, which is a good thing. Maybe it helps Eli Lilly's case with the FDA to have released them in a different presentation. Maybe they can ultimately prove, but so much of that is just speculation at this point. Nothing happens until the FDA says that it happens. And then you have to also consider the fact that if all of a sudden compounds are taken away, there will be a mass exodus. People are paying $300 to $400 a month, plus the cost of their telemedicine company. So they're paying upwards to $300 to $500 a month to get their compound tirzepatide. What's going to happen? They're going to go to their PCP, get a prescription for Zepbound, go get the coupon, and pay $550 a month. And then what's going to happen? Shortages, more shortages. So, I mean, are they going away? Not overnight. Are they is there a threat that they could? Yeah, but that didn't change. Today's news didn't change. So today's news didn't change that. Today's news meant that for the bulk of people that are on the branded medication, they should be easier to find over time, and that's a good thing. So let me hear your questions. I want to hear your questions in the comments. I want to hear what's going through your head. They're released in upper dose vials? They are released in Mounjaro. So it's just Mounjaro overseas. They don't separate out Mounjaro and Zepbound, and they are in all doses in the vials, but they're slowly replacing the vials with the quick pen overseas, in overseas markets, ex-US markets, as they say. The coupon doesn't work for all. It doesn't mean that it's not a perfect system. You're not going to catch me arguing for the fact that the idea that it's a perfect system, it's not. There are definitely people left out. And for them, I hope that compounds continue to be an option, or I hope that these drug companies will see a way to extend an olive branch to those people. I do. Question: are the vials needing a new prescription from your doctor different than the pen? That is a great question. It's a question that I was asked earlier today. Perhaps there's a doctor in the house that could answer that question. My sense is that for a different presentation of the medication, the doctor may have to write a script that's just broad, just for X amount of milligrams per week of tirzepatide. Then they may be able to fill it if it's that generic. But my sense is that it just depends on how the prescription was written originally. And doctors can kind of write them different ways, is my understanding. Donna says it will require a new script. Very interesting. And presumably the people on 2.5 milligram and 5 milligrams of Zepbound, presumably those people are new to the platform anyway, at least when they're starting. And so hopefully it'll just be good from the get-go. Will this fall, winter be whether Lilly extends the coupon into 2025? They will, BJ. I don't see a world where they don't extend their coupon. It's not, that would be a very uncommon practice for a pharmaceutical company and a very bad PR move. Yeah, I agree. Brianna says they're trying to make as much money now while they're the top dog. I 100% agree with that. And of course, they owe it to their investors to do that. Tay says she has a nasal spray and a pill version of the same medication and both need their own script. So there's your answer right there, right? The doctor would need to write a new prescription for the syringes as well, because you would need the syringes too. Also, that's an excellent point. Great. Other questions? Other questions? I'd be happy to take them tonight. Such a pleasure hanging out with you tonight. Such a pleasure celebrating this win, this Release the Vials win. Thank you for just having fun with me tonight. This community needed a little fun. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I don't know. The vials aren't going to come around. I don't think Scoop said should he have his doctor change it. Now, I wouldn't have your doctor change anything right now. They're not. I don't think it's going to come to market that quick. You're welcome, DJ. Thank you. Hit that subscribe button if this is your first time here. Make sure you subscribe over here on YouTube. What does Mr. Rick smell like? Money. He smells like money. Any news on CagriSema? The Novo Nordisk earnings call was yesterday. We didn't really hear much about CagriSema. It's in a dual chamber pen. And what they did say is that they are working on a formulation where it wouldn't be dual chamber, where they could combine both semaglutide and cagrilintide. But it sounds like for now it's a dual chambered pen. Ray with a $30 super chat. He says he's so humbled to be part of this amazing community. You demand, Dave. Release the vials, report the shortage, release the book. I love it. Thank you, Rudy. I appreciate the gift. Thank you for being here. Take on the insurance companies next. Oh yeah, so let's talk about a next step, because I did tease that a little bit earlier. The next step, one of the most important things, is to expand access to obesity medicine, right? So when we talk about expanding obesity medicine, we're really talking about your coverage, because most people go, my insurance doesn't cover it, doesn't cover obesity medicine. Well, actually what you meant to say is my employer has not opted into coverage for obesity. That's the correct way to say it. So if you go to OnThePen.com, there is a link in the description of this video. That will take you to OnThePen.com, and I posted an article there for you today that has actually a form letter for you to fill out and give to your HR or your company to advocate for adding obesity coverage, because any company worth its salt in diversity, equity, and inclusion should be adding obesity coverage to their policy, right? Sick people need medicine. Why would we discriminate against people with obesity? The other thing is it has the capacity to improve worker productivity. So I've put together a form letter highlighting just some of the main points about how adding these medications can benefit an employer. And so that form letter is at onthepen.com. You can go to the article. It's linked in the description of this video. Sick people need medicine. Totally stealing that from my friend Kim at the Plus Sides. But she's 100% right. And so go to onthepen.com, download that form letter, share it with your friends. If you have friends that are like, I don't know how to write a letter to my employer, it's all there for you. Just print it off, put your information in there, and send it to your employer. So that's there at onthepen.com for you. That's the next step. We got to get our employers to add coverage. Then there won't be all this talk about inaccessibility, right? Then we're just dealing with the people who are uninsured and the people on Medicare, and we're getting answers for people on Medicare with these additional indications. That's really great news. TROA will help some, not many, but some. And then we're to our uninsured friends, and we have to do a lot in medicine. We have a long way to go to take care of people who are uninsured, but yeah, this is the next step, in my opinion, is getting our employers on board. Did I miss a question? Did somebody, if you have a question and I missed it, drop it in the chat again. I would love to circle back and hit it. But that's the next step, is onthepen.com. Go and get your form letter to get to your employer. The book is going to come out in about 3 weeks, I'm hoping. That's lofty, but hopefully we can make that happen. You're afraid of the needle, you like the pen. Why only Zepbound? So I actually asked Dave Ricks that question directly while I was on the phone with him. And he said that actually, and I did cover it a little bit earlier, they are the 2.5 and the 5 milligram dose of Zepbound is the most constant, like the most people on those doses, 160,000 new people a week on those doses. And so what they're doing is picking that, and that'll free up the pens for the upper doses of Zepbound and Mounjaro. I thought Mounjaro made more sense because diabetics are used to the needle. He said, good point, but this is really, this is the getting the most bang for the buck with these two doses. There's only so much capacity for the vials. I think that's the thing, is like there's only so much capacity, so they calculate which are the best two doses that will free up the most pens to sell, right? Yep, and Straw says, after being on the pen, it's helping more than just obesity I had. That will benefit the future insurance claims for my employer. And I do cover that in the form letter. It ultimately, over time, will lead to cheaper bills, right? Any other questions tonight? I used to have a professor, and he'd get done with a tirade and he'd go, anybody? Anybody? It's kind of how I feel right now. Somebody asked if I can go over the earnings call bullet points. Actually, the bullet points for the earnings call are at onthepen.com. We covered most of them here tonight. OnThePen.com. Dave, I'm gathering a team to present accessibility in my state. Would love to talk to you about this and see if there's a possibility of teaming up. Send me an email at dave@onthepen.com. Would love to hear from you. Would love to hear from you. Big studies show these meds can also slow dementia. Yeah, we covered that here. These meds was liraglutide, which is now 2 generations old. And so imagine what the new generations like semaglutide and tirzepatide can do. I think they're going to find more and more of that. Semaglutide going to vials? Not that I've heard. They should, though. They should. The vial is a single dose. That's correct, Anna. Great, wannabe farm girl. Where do you hail from, wannabe farm girl? The higher doses of TERS are in phase 3. Yeah. No real update on those other than by the end of this year. Hopefully we should have some data, and maybe sometime in 25 we could have those upper doses. You're welcome, Daphne. It's my pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you for hanging out with me and celebrating. We need PBM reform big time. Yeah, we've made a lot of content. There's a lot of content on the pen. If you're not at onthepen.com, Idaho. Well, many people get my state confused with you. I'm in Iowa. We're nowhere near each other, but somehow people always assume I'm from Idaho. Well, 2.5 and 5 come only as vials or both in vials and pens. That's a great question. Did not ask that question. Did not hear anybody ask that question, and I don't know the answer for sure. I would imagine that by and large, they will only be available in the vials, but I think they'll probably reserve the pens for the rare occasion that somebody can't get the needles for whatever reason. Timeline on high dose tours slipped. Tell me more, Cloakster. Tell me more, buddy. Daphne with a 1999 super chat. Really appreciate you. All this to say, I am not a medical provider. I'm just a dude on YouTube. When people ask me questions, I am literally trying to draw information off the top of my head. So when we get into dates and stuff, I reserve the right to be wrong from time to time. There's just too much to keep in my head. We're enjoying a win tonight for the community. We did it. We did it together. Just a huge day. I talked to Dave Ricks on the phone this morning. A half an hour, 40 minutes before his earnings call. Crazy. It's crazy what we have done together here. It's crazy what we've built. I have an article in Fortune freaking magazine that talks about what we're doing here. It's insane. It's insane. And we did it. That's why we're toasting. That's why we toasted tonight, because we did it. We did it. Reese Chug-a-Lug champagne. We did it. I can't believe it. Hi, Fatima. Welcome. Can they compound the med themselves? Kind of what they're doing with the vials, right? Go Dave and community. Yeah. We did it, but y'all, thank you. Anchor Moments. Hey, Anchor Moments, have you seen my messages about coming on and being a guest on the show? Send me an email, david@onthepen.com. Would love to have you. It's so bubbly. Big thanks to your family for releasing you so that you can help release the vials. Yeah. Yeah. My family is excellent. Looking forward to spending the weekend with them. This was a huge week. Earnings call week is tiring for me. It's crazy. To keep up with life and earnings call week is a lot of work, but it's a fun week too. That's right. Jessica says she's so excited for what we all get to be a part of. I agree. It is so fun to be a part of this community. Just an amazing community. What we've done here is amazing. What we're doing here and what we are going to do is amazing. Yeah, new people, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Usually the show is full of fun hijinks and a special guest. Tonight, we're just talking release the vials. I mean, we're just taking a victory lap together as a community. This was a big one. Yep, no, Iowa. IOWA. Daphne loves this community and we love Daphne. Are you going to upload some more interviews on the podcast? I should. Not enough time in the day. Our high dose tirzepatide's coming soon. I think 2025. But Cloakster was weighing in on something. Maybe he went to look up some information. I feel like 2025. Governor listens to the podcast while he walks on his or her Apple Watch. Awesome. Vials released. That's right. Well, it's time. It's come time to take our injection, right? This is not a single dose vial, but it is my Mounjaro 15 milligram. I don't know if 5 stars. Yeah, give the podcast a 5-star rating and review. 2026, Cloakster says. Okay, maybe it was the end of 2025 that readout comes in. Is that right? End of 2025 for the readout of high dose tirzepatide. I misspoke. I reserve the right to be wrong from time to time. Doesn't happen often. Just ask my wife. Good to be with you, Mimi. The corn is better here, Jennifer. All right. I don't know if Corey's here. Corey had the biggest super chat of the night. I mean, there are so many super chats. If Corey's not here, then it goes to either Joe or Donna. Yeah. So I'm not sure who we have left here, but let me know where we're injecting this bad girl tonight. Corey was a big spender. I think she was last week too. Primary completion is the end of 20. Oh, Corey, where's it going? Because I think this was you last week, and then I don't think I put it where you said because I didn't see her. So where am I injecting this week? Nate, how you doing? Mimi, thank you for being with us. Belly, because high is suppression. All right. I appreciate that. Good looking out, my friend. Here we go. Ooh, we got blood on that one. So you know it's good. Keep the corn. We have the beef. We'll meet halfway and have a cookout. How about? Maybe Mr. CEO Dave will do a live. I know. I didn't feel like I could ask. I did pitch him something that maybe I'll share with y'all someday. But I didn't feel like I could work in like will you come on my show? It was just there was never a good time. I thought about it though. Sometimes it hits a small vein, then it gets real good, right? Thank you all for being here. Thank you for hanging. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at OnThePen. November 2026. Okay, that's right. I knew it was like November, December, but I couldn't remember if it was this year or next year. Thanks, Closter. Thanks for being here. Thank you all. I appreciate you all. What a day. Take a victory lap tonight. Oh, the alcohol thing. I don't think it could have been that much. This thing is still pretty darn full. It's too bubbly to take a big drink. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate that. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at OnThePen. Going to give you your blessing now. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you this week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at OnThePen. Couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't do without you. Until next week, we will see y'all. Take care of yourselves.